exposing the frauds for who they are. Every time he creates. Introducing the boldest man on the net, Lance Scurv.
Welcome everybody to another episode of The Red Carpet, and we are going to go in on so much that has happened in the last week and the implications that will come out of it. And it's going to be free-flowing tonight because it seems as though with every subsequent week, more and more stuff happens and more things go over the heads of the masses of people, and they just don't get it. So I'm really appreciative of Dr. Ramona Brockett sharing her insight to let us know what is happening and why we need to really stay on point. And when things are minimized, how not to overlook them and digest all of this buffoonery and foolishness that's shoved down our throats in the name of entertainment, or on Facebook with Mafia Wars and Candy Crush and all these other things, and you know the twerking videos and the reality TV shows and all of this stuff of celebrities arguing with each other when legislation is being pushed, taking away rights and going after people and different agendas. So we need to really look past all of the smokescreen and see what really matters. And Dr. Ramona Brockett, I'm so glad to have your company and to spend time with you. And I'm all ears with what you have to say. Welcome again, sweetheart.
Thank you. And I'm always happy to be with you, Lance Scurvin. And I'm so excited about Mrs. Scurvin's page. For those of you who don't know, Mrs. Scurvin, and I call her Mrs. Scurvin. I know she has a first name, but I have to honor her by calling her Mrs. Scurvin because the food she makes is something else. And had it not been for that food, I am sure Lance would be on here yawning and not having it together. But she serves up a plate made for kings.
Yes, indeed.
So if you can find her page, Mrs. Scurvin's Kitchen, it's called Mrs. Scurvin's Kitchen.
Mrs. Scurv's, yeah, we take the iron off like Scurv.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Mrs. Scurv's Kitchen.
No problem.
Mrs. Scurv's Kitchen, excuse me. Please find Mrs. Scurv's Kitchen. And I guarantee you, just the look will make you salivate, and you will find your way to her kitchen. Can I get a hallelujah?
Hallelujah.
Anyway.
I'm proof positive of this as a guinea pig, a happy guinea pig to all of the wonderful dishes made, and my energy levels are through the roof, and if one would consume good food like this, there would be no need for them to indulge in illegal substances to keep their energy up, because I can outdo those people too. But anyway. Absolutely.
Well, the funniest thing was when you were talking about her cooking, and you said, if I could just find an old shoe to throw up in there, I know it would be good. So, you know, it is some delicious cooking.
Indeed.
And so, you know, I look forward to getting down there and getting me some of that.
It's waiting for you.
But
it's waiting for you.
In the meantime, we do have some things that happened this week that are quite interesting. And you're right, Lance, there are so many smoke screens out there. Because really, what a lot of people didn't pay attention to was that Obama signed legislation for a new currency in America. And a lot of people aren't paying much attention to that. So instead of that, and by the way, one of our listeners had asked a while ago that we talk about economics and business and that sort of thing. So
Yes.
we're gonna have to set up a show where we kind of talk about that and talk about these. I think they're called 770 accounts that people should be looking into and that sort of thing. But before we go there, let's indulge the masses and look at the smoke screen. And the smoke screen this week all had to do with LGBT. Am I saying that right? Or LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. You know, I find it interesting. Before I go into what Governor Mike Pence, the governor from Indiana, did in the name of religion, I want to retell a story that I believe we spoke about a couple months ago.
Sure.
On one of the early carpet shows before we were calling it the Red Carpet. And I was talking about rights and civil rights versus human rights. It seems like the struggle for black people in America was all based on civil rights, wherein the struggle for women and now gays, bisexuals, transgender, it's all about human rights. And I find that so interesting because when you talk about human rights are superior to civil rights. Human rights you get because you are just that, a human being, and there are rights you deserve as a human being. And in fact, they are paramount to the rights when we talk about civil rights. Civil rights correspond with laws, okay? Now, someone may ask, why is she even distinguishing? Well, people of color, those of African descent that were sold out by our own brothers and brought here by Europeans to be enslaved, we weren't considered human. We were considered 3/5 of human. And in order for us to get rights, we first had to be legally considered human. And then after that, the rights would be determined. And we know how long that has taken, and we know that under the Obama administration, we've gone backwards, especially when it comes to voting rights.
Exactly.
And all kinds of things. We've gone absolutely backwards. Anyway, so when I sit and I look at the struggle for gays and women, and I look at the struggle for blacks, what I see is that we are given a civil rights struggle. Why? Because we have to first be determined to be human. And then if we're human under the Constitution, then we become a people. And then under the words in the Constitution, we are a citizen. Mm-hmm. Whereas gays and women and transgender, bisexual, etc., they're just human. They're easily human. You even had Chelsea Clinton gave a talk way back in, I would say, probably was October of 14. Was it October 14? No, it was October 13. I was on the radio out of Atlanta and talking about what she said about the struggle for gay rights. It's a human rights struggle. People deserve this human rights struggle. I've never heard him say it's a human rights struggle for people of color, especially those of African descent. So I want our listeners to think about that, because to the extent that our struggle is a civil rights struggle, then to that extent we are limited. Yep. Because what is being said is we have to determine whether there's a law that gives us a right to exist freely, okay? And that to me is quite interesting for a lot of different reasons, because what if there isn't a law, you know?
Right.
Now,
and this is why,
what happened here?
Yeah, I just want to say this is why it was a big to-do with the government when Malcolm X wanted to take the United States government, to court, so to say, United Nations, because it was a human rights issue. See?
Absolutely.
Now it changed everything. It's like, wait a second, we can't have this get out that way. Let's keep it on that level. And it's a slap in the face. It really is. And people who feel that we've had or come by our moment and that it's a post-racial society, that look at the wording. It's civil for us, but human for everybody else. That shows you what we are considered less than human in this day and age. If not, why can't they turn every word in these documents from civil to human? And we need to really vow to call it that now. Don't call it civil rights anymore. Call it human rights from now on, and demand that everything that goes on from this point on is looked at as a human right. Sorry to interject, but that's just my thought.
No, and it's not interjecting. We are having a dialogue, and this dialogue is important for those who are listening, because there are those who are listening that didn't even realize that we were dealing with a civil rights struggle as opposed to a human rights struggle. They didn't even realize the implication behind civil rights. That means that we aren't human. They have to determine that we are human enough to be able to be part of the laws. See, that same struggle is what is getting our black men shot dead in the street. Why? Because under the 13th Amendment, there's no more slavery or indentured servitude except as a punishment for crime. All right? I wrote that theory, conceptual incarceration, in which I say that the minute we are in the hands of police, we become enslaved. When we become enslaved, we go from being 5/5 of human to being 3/5 of human. And what does that mean? That means that if we lunge, if we put our hands up, if we go to grab our phone, if we go to grab our license, they can shoot us like dogs in the street. Why? Because we aren't human. And there is an unwritten rule that says that can happen. And we know there's an unwritten rule that says that can happen because we've yet to get an indictment. We've yet to get an indictment anywhere. Florida, California, wherever Ferguson is, where that thing, Missouri, Wisconsin. We've yet to get an indictment. Why? You look at the word, you understand why. So here we are. Here we are in Indiana, boy oh boy. I know a psychologist from Indiana who ventured his way to the East Coast and advised a whole bunch of people on what black women do and how black women act. But anyway, Indiana's an interesting place.
Memories,
a place where you've got
memories.
Like the corner of my mind.
Yes.
Anyway, yes. Anyway, but only the corners. Anyway, so the Indiana governor, where isn't that the main place where the Klan are? The birthplace of the Ku Klux, not the birthplace, but the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes, that's a stronghold, definitely.
Stronghold.
Mike Tyson
I'll
was
never
that.
forget. Oh yeah. I went for years ago. Went for an interview in Indiana, at a university in Indiana, and I noticed the kids on the campus. I was somewhere called Terre Haute. I noticed that the black kids on the campus, they walked with their heads down. I'm like, why are these kids walking with their heads down? I didn't get it. I've been below the Mason-Dixon line. I now get it. Anyway, so the Indiana governor signs an anti-gay religious freedom bill. Okay, Indiana Governor Mike Pence on Thursday signed into law a controversial religious freedom bill that could allow businesses and individuals to deny services to gays on religious grounds. Okay?
Wow.
Yeah, And it's kind of deep, because, well, let me read a little further, and then we're going to go a little bit back in history about some of this stuff, because it's deep. Indiana is the first state to enact such a change this year. Among about a dozen other proposals were introduced, and about, by the way, 15 states have these laws newly minted on their books. The measure would prohibit state and local laws that substantially burden the ability of the people, including businesses and associations, to follow their religious beliefs. Gay rights groups worry it will be used by businesses that do not want to provide services for gay weddings, since gay marriage became legal in Indiana last year. Okay. Now let's talk about this a minute, and let me bring you back to well before we even talk about it. What's a thought that you have on this? Do you have a thought on this?
Well,
yes.
This country is gradually moving toward something else. Now, the something else is going to be worse than what we've already known it to be. You see, some people will say it's just such a wonderful place, but most of us understand what's under and behind the crust, that the filling is not always too sweet. And the real face of America is being revealed. Now, I've always made my stance on sticking to what is biblical and what God wants for us as man and woman. But I don't believe in going after anybody because of what the differences may be. And now this might be an invert thing this time, because what happens when, or if this thing really goes that way, possibly, where they deny rights for gays, business, and the LGBT community? Well, is this now a test run to sign something else in to deny blacks after blacks are being portrayed in the media as being these subhuman entities? So even though we know, and I feel, that the so-called gay rights movement piggyback, like we spoke before, on the struggle and what they call civil rights, this can be something else where they could now go after gays, but then we're next. See, that's just a thought off of the top of my head. We're not too far behind.
And no, we're not far behind. We're not far in front. We're not far beside. But this is, Kerry Washington got up at the GLAAD Awards last week and went on and chastised black folk. I think you had an excellent show on it for not standing behind the gays, because she said, because if you don't stand behind the gays, then we're next. Well, I'm thinking that she missed a part of history when she said that, because we weren't next. We already had it.
Right. And I didn't say it in that context like she did, because I know we already had it. But
we already had it. We have it. We're going to have it in the future.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have it in the future.
We're not next. We're going to have it in the future.
We're going to have it some more. But see, what it is?
We're just going to have it some more. You know what I'm saying?
I think what it is, is that it's almost like the teacher who scolds the class pet first, because they really want to go after that other student who has good grades, but they just don't happen to like. So we're going to play good cop, bad cop here with this legislation. We're going to go after and marginalize gays, possibly with this thing, because we really want to because see, they're getting their stuff together. They're getting their rights and all this. They can do what they want to do. So we'll go after them first, so it won't seem so bad when we start to slip things in against black people. So it's
again.
Yeah.
Put the word in again now.
Yeah.
Because see, the thing is that, okay, let me tell a story that I was getting ready to tell before. When I was in law school, and I was talking to a friend of mine who I went to law school with earlier this evening, and when I was in my family law class, I will never forget, and this is back in the 80s, 86 as a matter of fact, and this guy said, well, there's gay rights should be the same as the rights of blacks, because we've struggled, we're going through a struggle too.
Oh, no.
And I said to myself, I said, I have respect for you. I said, but when I walk in to get a job at a law firm, and you walk in to get a job at the law firm, they know what I am. They cannot tell what you do at 2 a.m., okay? Period. So, I mean, yeah, and there are gays out there that are going to be mad that I said that, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care how mad you get. I know of people, even people in my own family who came here at the turn of the century, who were lynched. I'm being lynched right now, basically in the border state of Maryland, okay? I know what it is to be lynched. I know what it is to be torn asunder for being a black female who does not fit the bill. Yes. I know what it's like to do 12 years a slave. I understand the accounts and the histories where they took black men and women, hung them by their feet, took a hatchet and chopped them in half in front of their husbands and their children. I know of the atrocities done in slavery, where a white overseer could take a woman, rape her in the middle of the field in front of her child or her husband, get up and keep on going, and possibly shoot the husband dead for daring to complain. I know what that's like. Now, granted, gays have been beat up in the streets. They've been killed, okay, for their sexual preference, whether they're born that way or whether they acquire it. On the other hand, people of color, African people, who were sold here by their brothers, okay, into slavery. Women. As women, we not only get it for being women, we get it for being black. Two things that we did not choose, but that the Lord so deemed upon us to have.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for that. But I am not going to sit here and say that my sexual preference gets me beat up, and I should have the same rights as someone who has for hundreds of years been enslaved to a system for hundreds of years, has had to suffer a Holocaust because of the atrocities and the greed and the insensitivity of people who want to use another people to help support their economic base. They're two different struggles. So, granted, while gays have their, quote, human rights struggle, and while in America somehow they believe that a human rights struggle is more deserving if someone is gay as opposed to if someone is black, great, have your human rights struggle. But the fight, the atrocities, the history is not to be compared. It's not to be compared.
So that's so brilliant.
Now, should you have rights? 100%. Have every right you can possibly get. Should your rights be mirrored? Should you think that your rights are the same, that you've gone through the same thing that we've gone through? I differ. I beg to differ. Now, what's interesting is this. There's a very interesting article in a online journal called Think Press, and it's called When Religious Liberty Was Used to Justify Racism Instead of Homophobia. And they go to, and we talked about this judge in one of our programs because we were talking about, actually we may have been talking about a similar topic, but we were talking about Loving versus Virginia. Loving versus Virginia was a case that was decided in 1967 by the United States Supreme Court when a couple who had grown up in Virginia, white guy, black girl, decided to get married. Now, wasn't interesting? And again, I can't compare, and I'm sure that I'm going to get a negative from one of my gay brothers or sisters. You know, gay brothers or lesbian sisters or bisexual or transgender. I am not putting you down. I love you. Okay. However, you may not agree with what I have to say, and that's fine. But you know, when I think about what happened with the Loving couple, literally in their home, they had to, in their bedroom, they had to have an order placed on the wall of their bedroom because there was anti-miscegenation laws. They did not want a black and white to not only marry but have children. And so when they got married, they literally had to put a piece of paper on their wall from a judge saying that they could be in that bed together, which meant that they knew the police were going to come into their marital bedroom and disturb their private marital relations, and they would have to get up out of bed and show them the order which allowed them to lay in that bed together. I am sorry, but that has not happened in the gay and lesbian community.
Wow.
Okay? That's some deep stuff.
It is.
Granted, you go down to Georgia, they have anti-sodomy laws, and Georgia has not, and it's as many gays as there are in Atlanta. I know the gays in Atlanta are mad, but Georgia has not, said that there should be equal rights in marriage for gays. But gays do not have to go through, look at the, thing on the wall, okay, you're going to arrest me and throw me in jail. The Loving couple were literally thrown in jail when they got married because in the state of Virginia, as there were about 15 other states, they did not only did they have laws against miscegenation, but a white man marrying a black woman, that was like him marrying his cow. It was like having sex with an animal. You get thrown in jail for things like that. So when they got married, they got thrown in jail. Okay, I don't see that happening in the gay community anyway. So this article is called "When Religious Liberty Was Used to Justify Racism," and you have Judge Leon M. Bazile, okay, on January 6, 1959, when he wrote the opinion after the Lovings had gotten married. This is what he said, and this is why the gays are saying this applies to them. This is what he said: Almighty God created the races white, black, yellow, Malay, and red, and He placed them on separate continents. And but for the interference with His arrangement, there would be no cause for such marriages. The fact that he separated the races shows that he did not intend for the races to mix. Okay, what the gays are trying to do is, well, what the governor is trying to do, okay, in Indiana, is say that those people who have a religious conviction and believe in that statement that I just read, those people who have businesses and wedding dress businesses and bakeries and other kinds of businesses, if they have a religious conviction, they do not have to cater, okay? They do not have to cater to gay people, okay? And what he's saying is that should stand because that's what was said about blacks. Now this is deep. You still there?
I'm right here. I'm captivated. This is a good meal, so you know I'm silent.
I want to know, what is your thought for a minute, because this gets deeper and deeper. What was that song? Deeper, deeper. What was that song about? Deeper and deeper.
Deeper. It was Madonna, wasn't it? Well, yeah, she made a version
Madonna?
of it, but no, there was a more popular. No, but
Oh no, it was a sister that sang that back in the day.
Okay.
Deeper and deeper. I don't remember what it was.
It was a club song or
You know, it's
something.
late.
Yeah.
We be trying to remember all kinds of songs while we be on this thing.
No, but-
I know people listen like.
No,
Wait, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say that really, I'm dumbfounded because it's like the more you pull back the layers, is more you'll see more. It's almost like just falling into a bottomless pit, a deep abyss. You just don't know who's
Absolutely.
who. You just right now, with what you're saying, I'm just absorbing it, and I'm like, well, how deep does this thing go? I mean, really, and I want to know who is behind it. Ultimately, we know Satan, but who is behind it ultimately that I can look at and say, what's your problem? You know, really.
Well, see, and
I mean,
Go ahead.
people are listening to someone else and they're getting the A-OK and let's move with. There is an agenda. There is an agenda against black people and our rise in the world. You know, and that word is just used with gays, the gay agenda. Okay, and we know that there is, but they try to make it seem as though they're suffering like us and have been. But that's only a mask and a cover, distraction, because they've been doing what they've been doing. All, you know, nobody's going to run it on their bedroom. I mean, really, you know, because half the people in government, that's their flavor. Half the people in power, that's their flavor.
Log cabin Republicans are the gay segment of the Republicans. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, but see, here it is, and you're touching upon it, and it's deep. Whenever, see, and for those of you, you'll have to excuse me for getting a little religious right now, but there is only one author of confusion.
That's right.
And that is Satan. He is the author of confusion. So when you have this much confusion, it means, as you said at the top of the hour, there are some smoke screens. Right when we started, I said President Obama signed some legislation for some new currency, okay? In another talk show we had, I talked about Mark Cuban. And one of our listeners pointed out another man whose name skips me right now, but who also spoke about the breakdown, okay, of the student loan industry, I'm going to call it, just like the housing industry, okay, that all of this stuff is about to break. I had a friend of mine who he was a, and I will call his name, is Dr. Leon Petaway. He is a retired criminologist from Indiana University. He's also a monk. And he called me from Kathmandu. He retired and he went to Kathmandu to be a monk, right? And very interesting brother from North Carolina, grew up in segregated North Carolina, and he's now a monk in Kathmandu. He called me up and he said, I'm really worried about what's going on with the American economy and the money. And I said, yeah, a lot of people are, but a lot of people don't know it. He's like, no, we know it over here. And he's like, I got to figure out what to do with X, Y, and Z.
Right.
That's what's really going on. Anytime you've got $1 trillion deficit, we have nowhere to go. I don't care how many jobs you say are in the economy, okay, while we are trying to bring back products to America, you know. Ebby and Ivy, people ask me what I do with my hair. I use the Ebby and Ivy product from Alarant. You know, it's a natural product, and it's here in America. But while we're trying to bring back these products, these things, they aren't coming back fast enough. So what do? How do we create confusion when we don't want people to see the truth? We throw out lies. We throw out confusion. We throw the kitchen sink. Death by 1,000 cuts, okay? And what we have here is a very clever way to take our eyes off the fact that our economy is reeling. So what do? We get everybody mad at everybody. The Klansmen are mad at the blacks. The blacks are mad at the gays. The gays are mad at the women. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Who's not mad? Only one little group. The ones running everything, they just sitting back. Look at what's happening with Pharrell and Marvin Gaye's family.
Yes.
And Marvin Gaye's sisters saying, we live from hand to mouth. We just wanted a piece of this money.
Right.
And then his kids saying, we want the money. Then Pharrell being sued for the money. Who backed all of that? All the people supporting all that confusion. They don't look like Pharrell. They don't look like Marvin Gaye's sisters. I guarantee that. The ones behind it don't look like me. But I'm telling you straight up, they're about to get every single penny and convert it to the new currency so that they stay rich and everybody else stays poor while they continue to create the confusion.
Brilliant.
Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. You know, I've been wanting
Wait, say that again?
It's so much I wanted to come out. I was like, I was going through this little conniption over here. My basic feeling, and I've been telling my wife for the longest time, I'm not saying I knew what you just said, but I felt something on that magnitude, and always have. And if you listen to old shows coming up until the present, I've always said the ride is over here, and I want to be somewhere else. I want to be somewhere else where I can another country where I can grow my food, live simple. I'd like to have an internet connection, but I'm okay if I just can have my own little property. Doesn't have to be big, away from this system that is definitely going to collapse. Because I'm not going to say I'm afraid. That would be a disrespect to God, because I have complete faith in Him. But we're to seek knowledge, and this knowledge that you're sharing makes 100% sense. My thing is, in the bigger cities, if there's no food in the supermarket, how are we going to eat? If there's no money in the bank that's honored as money, because it was said before that there would come a time when 20s and 50s would be in the street and we'd walk over it. If you're hungry, money means nothing. You want food, okay? Our bigger cities are artificial living environments, and it has to be supported with the plumbing, food being brought in. It used to be where we had to have enough land per body to support that body, you see? But now we can stay clumped up together. So if and when, I'll take out the if, it's just a matter of time. When that fall comes, because back in 2008, 2007, 2008 was a test run. Let's shake the boat a little bit and see how people react. And now it's really artificially inflated. It was artificially inflated from the turn of the century, okay, with all of the housing bubbles, and especially down here in Florida. But that was a test run, and it busted, and people fell hard. What happens when we get dropped from a higher window in the building? We'll have more broken bones, see? And my thing is that I would love to get out of here before that time. I mean, it's just my feeling. I just sense something coming.
Well, you know, it's definitely coming. It's definitely on its way.
And it's biblical.
And, oh yeah, it's biblical. You know, there's that song. There's a storm out on the ocean, and it's moving this away. Get yourself anchored in Jesus, because you'll surely drift away. Drift away, Lord, drift away. There is something definitely coming, and you have got to keep your head up. I mean, it's sad. That's another thing. You know, so many people of color lost their homes. So many people of color have lost their jobs. So many people of color are in the double-digit unemployment lines. And then you've got, you know, Obama talking about the people 5.2. Well, 5.2 unemployment, that's not people of color. That's other people. So it's real interesting, real interesting what is going on. Now I just want to read something here, because it's kind of interesting, and I don't want it to be too boring. So I just want to make sure
you are never boring, and what you say is never boring. And you don't have to dumb down anything for us to digest it. That's why we have intellectual teeth to chew it down and break it down. We have Google, and we can research things, and you put it down the way you see to put it down, and we'll take care of the rest.
Well, thank you. Now there is an Arizona license to discriminate bill. Okay, because this is an Indiana bill, which is a license to discriminate. And what they're saying about the Arizona bill is that the most remarkable thing about it is how quickly it became an anathema, even among Republicans. Okay, in 2008, the GOP presidential candidate John McCain, and in 2012, Mitt Romney called up Arizona Governor Jan Brewer to veto his effort to protect businesses. This is important, that want to discriminate against gay people. So did Arizona's other senator, Jeff Flake, okay? Now, the premise of the bill is that discrimination becomes acceptable. This is the same thing in Indiana. The premise of the bill is that discrimination becomes acceptable so long as it is packaged inside a religious wrapper. I find it interesting that we are in the season of what? You know, it's Easter. It's Passover, you know. And here we're talking about packaging a bill that we can discriminate based upon religion. Now, back in the day when they tried to package that bill to discriminate based upon religion for black folk and based upon religion for segregation of schools, it didn't work. And if they did do that, what they found was this: federal funding would not go to those companies, to those schools, to those, okay, because it wasn't what? It wasn't right, okay? So they want to try to package this again, you know. Let me read some more. So the premise of the bill is that it's acceptable as long as it's inside religious wrapper. As Arizona State Representative Farnsworth, a Republican, explained, lawmakers introduced it in response to instances where anti-gay business owners in other states were, quote, punished for their religious beliefs, unquote, after they denied service to gay customers in violation of store anti-discrimination laws. Okay? So what they're trying to do is protect the people who don't want to make wedding cakes for gay people, because what they're saying is those people need to be protected too. But if you begin to look at it, everybody needs to be protected against somebody else. After a while, all the negatives are going to positive out, and there'll be no protection for anyone against anything. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. Wow.
It's almost like we are going for such political correctness about everything. Oh, protect them from saying that. Nope, they can't say that. Oh, do that about that, till there will be no protection for anything. And then that's when the haves and the have-nots can really come in, because everyone will have not, regardless of their race or ethnicity, gender, preference. And then there will be those who do have, who can oppress the ones who have not. But before you oppress the ones who have not, you've got to get them all angry at each other so that they can turn and want to please you, the aggressor, so that you have power over the ones who have not.
Right.
You with me?
I'm with you 100%. With you 100%.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a form of lobbying. It's a form of lobbying. That's right.
It really is.
You know, it's like when you have a cookout and you have the neighbor across the street who's a cop and he has all the guns. Well, you want to make sure to send a few plates over there because you're going on vacation soon. And well, he's a retired cop. You want him to keep an extra eye out on your home to keep it protected when you're gone. So treat him nice. You know, send him some cake, send him some liquor, send him a few plates of food from the cookout, and make sure that he's cool with you so he can look out for you. Cater to him because he is a have as far as protection is concerned. Yeah, I got you.
And he's a protection. But if you have all these people fighting with each other, you know, it was like when we talked about the, you know, what are the rappers doing? Are we putting ourselves down? Are we trying to make our oppressor happy by putting each other down, by calling each other B's and O's, you know, so that we can identify with the aggressor because he's oppressed us so much? Well, in a way, it's like all these groups are being oppressed so that one of them, so that they can all identify with the aggressor, and he'll have a less hard time oppressing all the groups because everyone will be oppressing each other. Everyone will be beating up each other. All these groups that they're talking about, the gays, the blacks, the women, no one has the real power in any of those groups. No one has they have power to hurt each other, but they don't have power to move forward, because the ones with the true power moving forward are the ones making them look at each other and think that each other is at fault for the pain that they have. Because, you know, right now I'm about to say this article is really interesting. It says, yet while the LGBT Americans, which I find interesting, I know that there are LGBT Americans now, they're black Americans, LGBT Americans, Italian Americans, you know. Anyway, while the LGBT Americans are the current target in this effort to package prejudice as religious liberty, they are hardly the first. To the contrary. Very brilliant Wake Forest law professor Michael Kent Curtis explained this. Many segregationists justify racial bigotry on the very same grounds that religious conservatives now hope to justify gay animus. You know, in the words of a professor at Mississippi Baptist Union, our Southern segregation way is the Christian way. God was the original segregationist.
Wow.
So if God was the original segregationist and we have to separate church from state, then we going to be segregationists and make our little cakes for heterosexual folk. And it is very interesting, because if we do go down this road of church and state and religion and privacy, you know, there are so many issues here that really could lead back to black folk. But what I really think is happening is the powers that be that really run this country and really run this place, because of the demise of the American dollar on the global world scale, we have got to take a look and pay attention to everything else other than the fact that our economy has a hole in it.
More than a hole.
So yes, please. So we're going to pay attention to the fact that we believe God is the biggest segregationist. After all, he kicked Satan out of heaven. That's segregation. Okay, well then, if he kicks Satan out of heaven, are you saying gay people are Satan? Are you saying black people are Satan? Are you saying women are Satan? Are you saying the natives are Satan? Are you saying the Latinos are Satan?
They say it on the evening news for the most part, so that's why they control the media. They say it that way subconsciously. They get this into our head to justify, calling us that. So,
Absolutely. There's a really interesting article that came out. I'm trying to remember where the school was. But the girl went to an HBCU, historically black university.
Mm-hmm.
But where she went, in her apartment when she got back, these white kids had put some paraphernalia on her door showing a man hanging by a noose and saying to her, where are your leaders now? You have no leaders, and we're going to come get you. We're going to come get you. You have no leaders. Huh, interesting. And they spelled something wrong, like there was supposed to be Their, they spelled it There.
Indications of how
yeah.
Yeah.
How brilliant the Third Reich is, how brilliant America's Third Reich is.
Mm-hmm.
White supremacists. Like the ones on the Eastern Shore.
When you make threats,
typos,
just reduce the threat. It's like, okay, you can't write. So how can I take this serious?
And you know what? Check this out. It wasn't even like when I for the listening audience, I will send Lance text messages from my tablet, and I'm telling you straight up, that tablet does not like me. I'll be writing something real quick, and it comes out all crazy.
Oh, it happens to me. Yeah.
Well, in this case, with this young supremacist who went to threaten this young black woman, he actually put his stuff in writing in pencil, so it wasn't even like it was a typo. You know what I'm saying? So he spelled the word there. I believe it's supposed to be Their. If I'm thinking whichever he did, he spelled it There. There is no one for you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other thing. As our society breaks down, the dumb just get dumber. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And they get more frustrated because they're so stupid. There's a reason why stupid is in the dictionary.
Oh my God, the dumb just get dumber. But and it's scary because what happens is the dumb are the ones really running the place. I had to deal with an attorney from the state who didn't know the difference between 2TO, 2TOO, and 2TWO.
Didn't know that?
Had no clue. But this person got a huge state promotion, but they didn't know the difference between 2 and 2, and it's shameful, but that's what they have to do. But the point really is here that while this argument about religion probably will not hold, what will happen, which will pit two groups against each other, is the gays, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community will have the very powerful support of human rights behind them, while they use all the arguments that gave us civil rights.
Yes.
And these religious bills will become obsolete after a while, but they're doing what they have to do, and it does pit two groups who are being oppressed against one another. It's just like the lady who Arquette, who got up there talking about it's time for minorities, the blacks and gays, to help women now. Well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Aren't we all one? What do you mean? We're supposed to stop? I'm a woman. I'm black. Oh, I'm supposed to stop and help the white woman now because I'm a black woman, so I'm really nothing? Really? Yep. I know that in the state of Maryland, that's quite obvious that I'm nothing because you can tell how they treat me there. But, really, is this how America thinks? It becomes very interesting, and what we end up having are, again, people pit one against the other. Now, it's interesting because in this article they talk about Bob Jones University and how, and this was interesting because Bob Jones is a Christian university, and what they did up until 1975, they did not permit black students to come to the school unless they were married, and then they said that they did not permit black and white students to get married, and this is all based on religious religious mores, But what ended up happening was the Internal Revenue Service revoked Bob Jones' tax-exempt status, okay, because they were discriminating based on race, and they were including religion in it. So if any of these companies in Indiana or any of the other states that are trying to do this, they're getting any kind of federal funding if they pay taxes. If they in any way think that because they're two women who own the company and somehow they're exempt from X, Y, or Z, they're going to have a problem. So these types of things will not go on. But what will happen is that with these types of laws, they're going to continue to pit groups of people who have been oppressed against each other. Okay? And what's interesting about the gay community is that you see gay community stuff is very prevalent now on TV. People are very comfortable with the whole gay lifestyle on TV, but yet,
By design.
yet, I heard the other day an executive say, well, there's a whole lot of black programming on TV. As long as it's not too black, it's okay. Wait a minute. We've got gays kissing each other. We've got, gays marrying. We've got all that. I don't hear anybody saying, well, as long as they're not too gay, we're okay.
Right.
But I hear, as long as it's not too black, what's going on here still? What's going on, Lance?
It's slowly being pushed out, replacing one for the other. And we're minimized.
Absolutely.
And we've always been minimized, but now it's like, okay, we can jump on this gay bandwagon, and now we really can show our feelings toward you because, you're really not human. And my thing is, my question to many blacks who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, how do you stand on this? Can you cut yourself in half? I mean, the ones who are so pro gay rights and in the fight, so-called, for gay rights, have you forgotten that you're black? Have you forgotten that you'll be tossed aside like a snotty rag when they, so-called, reach their goals? Again, like with the feminist movement and women, black women. These people don't want to hear this argument, and they stick their head in the sand. The few people that I know who would talk with me about it, who have stopped talking to me because they don't want to face it, and they just don't want to acknowledge. It's like when they're gay, they're not black anymore. You see? It's like we're accepted as gays. Of course you would be, because you're going against who you are initially. See? And you're going right along with the plan. But they're looking at you like a fool. And the wake-up call is coming. How do they feel about this?
It's so funny. This someone who I was very close to for years. He's gay and love him to death. And when the I constantly talk about what happened in 2013 on June 25th, and then what happened on June 26th. He was so excited about what happened on June 26th, marriage equality, called me up. I said, well, but we've lost the right to vote. And he said, well, at least a black man can get married now.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
And I was like, wow, that's deep. And he came back a couple months later and apologized for saying what he said, and there's really not much to talk about at this point in our friendship. But, there's a real insensitivity, and moreover, there's such naivete on the part of us as a people, because we are constantly helping people get over the hump, get over the hurdle. And we clap and we watch them, but they don't turn back to help us get over the hurdle.
Yet when we say
and I think it's
when we say that we need to help ourselves and do for self, it's hate and you have to be inclusive. See, because you know why they look at us like that? We have always been their tool. We've been a tool for everybody to nurture themselves to financial freedom, to come here and build up their communities, and we can't be of any help to ourselves. And there's so many of us who refuse to see that, and it's just sad in 2015 that now people who, I'll just say it, who are indulging in certain types of behavior are looked at on a higher level. And you could put the thumbs down and cuss me out in the comment box for that. Now they're ahead of us. They're ahead of us now, so-called, in their mind, like, okay, we're having all this, we're getting onto blacks or nothing now, black homophobia, and getting some of our own people to come and chastise us who, it's just sickening. So if you don't see that we need to come together and do for self and separate ourselves from this system to a point we're in it, but we have to have our own, just like everybody else has their own community. And we have to have that mindset. Stop being the do-boy for everybody else's community. That's the basic way of saying it.
Years ago, I had this thought. I said, is it that we are so evolved actually as a people, since we were the first people here, and the true chosen will be despised and rejected and spread all over the world? Are we such that we really have been here so long that while it appears we sit back and we're like, we're being trampled upon, in actuality, we know we're the superior beings? Did I just say that? Is it too late?
It's never too late. And that's something worthy of not ever being bleeped out. Because I always say, look, God created everyone equal, but he didn't make everybody equally. Didn't create them equally. Are you going to get a 4-foot midget to play on a basketball team and expect to win? No, get that 6'5" or 7-foot brother over there. And we are here for a purpose, and the powers that be don't want us to manifest the purpose in the time because it means the end of their rule. Let me just say it that way. That's what it is. Because if we wake up,
and maybe we already inherently know that. Maybe we don't need to fight the fight the way people think we need to fight the fight, because we always ruled and we always have ruled and we are still the rulers. Yeah. So in a way, it's almost like we're letting the children act out while we stand back and watch. I know that is the most whacked theory on the planet.
No. No, you know why it's not whacked? Because these children, even in their wayward looking ways, they're fearless. See, they have no fear. They don't have the fear that when I say we, I don't mean you and I. I just say we, meaning the generations before us that were fearful. They weren't fearful to march, but they would not go the full way, all the way. You know, and certain gains were made, but it was always determined on someone else. This generation is a generation of, you know, I'm taking it. And what happens when that fearlessness that they have for each other, where yes, we are killing each other and things are happening, but what happens if that warrior spirit wakes up and the right mind is put in? And I don't mean turning a gun on somebody, no. And if that's right, we're talking about the intellectual, we're talking about the spiritual. We're a powerful people. The other thing is, why, if we're so much of nothing, then why does the world focus on us so much? Because they know who we are.
That's my whole point.
They know who we are.
That's right. That's the whole point behind that theoretical stand that I make, this theoretical basis. Are we actually so superior that the rest of the world has to focus in on us because they want to take us down because they know exactly who we are? But yet somewhere along the line, did we forget who we are?
Of course.
And you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a really interesting theoretical perspective on power and the history of power and the how power isolates people, you know, kind of an isolationist theory, because we really are isolated within our own power. Anytime you have a 5'6" cop having to snap the neck of a 6'3", 350-pound man, that is someone who is terrified of the power that person has. So this is something else to think about in terms of all of this, because in essence it's our power that give women and gays and others their ability to walk through the door. And while our power seems to have to be defined or harnessed within a permission called civil rights, wherein others have human rights, the bottom line is, if it wasn't for our humanity, those rights for others would never exist. Never a dull moment on the red carpet, my dear.
Never, ever. Never, ever, ever. Truth has been dropped tonight. No, I am so serious. Lovely. Perfect.
Well, thank you, and thank you for that. Now, explain to the people about the on your site where it says Ramona
Oh,
Brockett.
yes, definitely. Ramona Brockett. She has a tab. If you want to keep up with everything, every utterance, every thought, you go to the Landscurve app, and you have to download the app. First of all, you have to go to the Google Play Store, to the Apple Store, or Amazon, and you can download it to your smartphone, your tablet, your device, no matter what it is. And it's free. It doesn't cost you anything. But if you like and love what you heard here on the red carpet with Dr. Ramona Brockett, you go and you download the Landscurve app, and you scroll down a few, because I have to rearrange. It's going to have to go a lot higher. It's down on the bottom right now. Okay. But it's the different tabs there. You'll see the tab with the artwork and the tab with this and that, the stuff that Landscurve does. But if you go down to that tab and you see her beautiful face in the little icon, you just touch it, and it will pull up her page. Everything current that Ramona Brockett says and does. Everything. And when you get to that page, I want you to click on the like button and like the page. And I want you to share it, because this is not just a weekly thing. This is an everyday thing. You get to hear her voice once a week when we get on the show here, but her communications to the masses is an everyday thing. And you will miss something if you just wait once a week, which, you know, this is a meal worth waiting for. But heck, there's a whole lot of appetizers going down in Dr. Ramona Brockett land. So I suggest you just that you get to the app, which is under the username Landscurve. Just punch that in on the Google Play Store, Amazon, or the Apple Store. Once it's downloaded, and it's free, doesn't cost you anything. I paid for it all up front, so you don't have to pay anything. So that's one of the benefits of you know, worshiping Jesus Christ. He died for our sins. So I financially died for the right for it to be a free app.
Amen. So, all right. Yeah.
So yeah,
sacrifice, child.
That's right.
Yes.
And refresh those pages. Check out what she puts out. A lot of anecdotes and insights and just things that her brilliant mind can come up with, different angles. It's a beauty to it because it's a different level. Yes, she is brilliant. She earned it. She's intelligent. She's educated. And we know she's beautiful. But a mind like this, we need to really tap into, because what good is having a radio when the antenna's no good? She is a righteous antenna picking up signals and shooting that signal down to the masses so that we can know what's going on in the atmosphere. That's the best way I can say
And
it.
I thank you for saying that. And for the people there are a couple people who have gone to my my webpage. I'm still working on that, but keep going and visiting the webpage. I think this app will you'll eventually be able to get to the webpage too, when that's all
Yes.
where it's supposed to be.
Yes.
And I thank you for saying what you're saying, because these people want to. I think by May 4th they want to really shut me down there in Maryland.
Well, you know what?
Shut it down. Shut it down.
It shows. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. It shows what?
No,
shows what?
it shows how powerful you really are. With all of the issues in the world, with all the things to pursue, that people would come together on such a negative light and focus on you. That is an invert compliment. See? But understand that you're under the protection of a mighty God, and no harm will come to you. They can throw stones. They can cause a little scratch, a little discomfort here and there. But ultimately, really, these people, when they stand in judgment, and they spent their few decades on this little brief roller coaster ride, merry-go-round ride called life on earth. You mean they spent precious time coming after you for what? Because your mission is going to be fulfilled. And they took the precious time that they're going to wish they had on their deathbed, if they have the luxury of a deathbed to know they're passing, if not a tragic accident. They're going to wish, can I have 3 more minutes? Can I have 10 more minutes? But look at all the hours, days, weeks, and months that they
money. Look at all the taxpayer money they
Yes.
put into this.
And
My God.
moved about the earth with this venom inside of them. For you, a beautiful creature who's so willing to share. You're not condescending. You can play that worldly game. You know, you can look down and say, I'm not going to say anything. I know it all. Because you know a lot. But you're a servant of God, and I have never seen someone so humble that has so much. When I look at these young ladies and young men who, you know, they go into school and they get on my bus and they look at me a certain way, and they may speak in a very condescending manner, and I'm like, wait a second, you just got a crumb. You just got your foot in the door, and I get a chance to speak with somebody who can run circles around you, teach you things, and have you bedazzled for the next few months. So I laugh to myself, you see? I laugh to myself when that happens. And I thank you for being who you are. You're made in a special way, and you're made in a way for this time to enlighten the people, because we need that. There's so much out here to distract us, and you bring us truth each and every time. I bet even when you talk in your sleep, there's some truth to it. You know?
I don't know. There's no one to tell me anything about that, but I maybe one day I'll find out. But that's too funny. I have to record it. Thank you. I'm going to put on a tape recorder and see what thus saith the Lord. Hallelujah. Anyway, Lance,
Yes.
it has been wonderful being here, and I am thankful for the red carpet, even for the religious aspects of this red carpet, because, you know, what is fascinating is truly how God works. Now, let's think about the irony of this. We have an Indiana governor who decides the week of Palm Sunday that it is okay to discriminate against lesbians and gays and bisexuals and transgender people based on religion. Now, not only does he do that, but that then affects people of color. So all we can say as we leave the red carpet today is hallelujah and amen. Thank you for another walk down the red carpet.
Every Friday evening, tune in to radio's hottest talk show, bringing you the realest, uncensored conversations with the boldest man on the net, Lance Scurv.